Yes, that's what it looks like, what it's gonna be. See if it can.
You get the phone.
I don't know, it's pretty far. Parking lot.
You do that business even.
Yeah. It's interesting, you know, two, old mansions. And when they built that building, it was like state office. Yeah, no, it's fine. This,
Yeah, 'cause I go to the library there
yeah,
and I kind of park, not in the winter when it's icy and not like, you know, it's a little dry. But yeah, I mean, it's nice, just all of that, like, there. And it's-
very station.
First aid, all clear, but it's, all the gas, we have all. I mean, no, because I'm not from here. When did you ever get it through your head? I will never say that I'm from here. Because I do my real little farming, it's fun. Exactly. Talk to me in food, and I know that. Once one across from you, you need to talk about that.
There. Hey, how are you? Good. Yeah, I'm anxious to see. Yeah, it's great.
Hello.
Eric, how are you? Good.
Then there's the next year. Yeah, you go in my little corner, you don't have to wear. I see the screen and. See the plans there. I try. Not really, but I do try.
See what I mean? Oh, PDF. Okay.
Cause they run on Wednesdays, I haven't done it to go. I don't know.
Okay.
So they take off for the summer, so it's. Try to get the best.
Good. Gordon.
Well, you're in good hands. I'm right.
Set up.
And good hands with all state. Should a bunch of kids see on the bikes with the rim.
This is what?
Just all grabbed a bunch of kids, you know, like,
Did you?
chasing around, pushing through.
You will.
We got,
All of them, yeah.
they ditched a bunch around the foot.
The, I can look at the coaster, but somebody told me yesterday that the flag thing was in there. Was it in last week's or was it this week?
This week's.
So it was online then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I so that wouldn't, but it's gonna get a little bit of play.
Oh, yeah, for those people.
Very bad. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I mean,
Very unfortunate.
I figured, I mean, yeah, it was gonna be in the blotter and they probably just fall.
I think that's probably what I got.
But, you know, they told. I good for them. They need to. They didn't want to talk. I mean, it's like their business. The girl that owns the yoga place.
Okay. And
Really? She was trying really hard.
yeah, they're welcome.
I'm really the person and the back to this place.
Haley's the last one.
See, Anna, you know,
And yes.
She the sole owner?
I heard one place to be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah. and real thin.
I used to go to yoga.
I should, which is.
Very thin.
Very.
Yeah, hot yoga.
Yes, blondish, fresh blondish hair.
What's the name?
Wow.
Okay.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to tell you that. And your comment was like, right on, did you win? I love that. That was funny.
He's tough. It's,
who was that? Someone, well, you. Oh, Billy King, it was,
Bill King, the pro,
Yeah.
yeah.
he was there. Did you see him?
Oh, no, I
When's the last time you've seen him?
Oh, I haven't seen it since the new pro since.
I haven't seen him probably in 20 years.
And he came, that's great.
He was there. He came up. Shook my hand and was saying something to me. And I'm trying to, who is this? I'm like staring at the person. And right as he was like, releasing my hand and walking away, I'm like,
Bill King.
wow, I don't remember being so small. Definitely him, but
Yeah, I haven't seen
got
it.
a 70s.
He's only a little older than me. He's probably
Yeah.
72.
He looked all of a sudden.
Oh,
Did not look. I remember jet black hair.
Yeah,
I thought he was a little big, tall. But,
wow, yeah, I wasn't very tall, because when I coached golf in St. Rose, he was there as a pro, so I said, yeah, from all time.
wow,
That was 2006.
there for like 20 years.
And he handed me like a challenge.
I think he was.
Yeah, I didn't know anything, just give me like a military challenge.
Oh, Persian rifles or something?
Yeah, it was all the branches of the military,
Oh, cool.
which is probably a generic challenge.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, it was cool, so I texted him the next day.
Oh, that's right.
He's close with the Chief and Wall, I'm friends with his son Caddy over there, so.
So they retired guys, caddy over there too.
Yeah.
Chris Bennett, like he's still on the
Good
job.
on. Yeah.
He play on Mondays, I'm assuming that's still.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's well, yeah. Did you caddy?
I did.
Like how to.
Yeah. Who's the caddy? Oh,
Oh,
right on tape. He's very, very good. Yeah, actually, I do. Okay, yeah, we put it together. All right. I'll tell you that story next time. All right.
We'll be fine.
No, that would be you.
That's great. That's great.
She's talking about an after 3 So, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Council President.
Yeah, so. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe, how you doing, Joe? Hi, Jane. How you been? Okay, how you been? Have you been riding your bicycle?
Am I what?
Riding your bicycle lately?
All the time.
I haven't seen you.
Yeah, no, usually I go early in the morning.
That's probably the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for
Good.
asking.
Yeah. I'm glad you're out there.
I see you're busy with the tree business.
Oh, yeah. Always got something going. It's all good. Yes.
It's 30.
Councilman Weber's gonna be late, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And I saw Councilwoman Kristen Mahoney in the party. So she's here. And then I don't know about Spring Can. I have not heard. Okay.
They're not young.
No. There's one color I don't have in family.
I don't know.
We were yellow the last one. Yeah. Yellow Wednesday. So, we have like a big giant in the class today, you know. Oh, yeah. Hello, how are you? Yeah, you don't have extra glasses.
Never know.
Okay, we'll start. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wish to announce that the 48-hour notice is required under the Open Public Meetings Act, was emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Co-Star, and the New Co-Star on December the 7th of 2023. That a copy has been placed on the bulletin board in the borough office and that a copy has been filed with the municipal clerk. As a courtesy to the public, this meeting may be attended via Zoom. If for any reason the Zoom portion of this meeting fails or is disconnected, the in-person meeting will continue and action can and will be taken, providing there is an in-person quorum. Ms. DeNoble? Here. Mr. Gubatose?
Here.
Ms. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Weber excused. Mayor Fox?
here. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our 12th meeting of the year. I have been and will emphasize the following: although we have some disagreements, our voices should be constructive. We all want a brighter future for Bradley Beach. Ask to join in that. I ask everybody to gauge their tone going forward. We're all neighbors, and let's make civility and decency an underpinning of all discussions. The first thing I need to really report and mention is a significant loss to our community. Julia Rand, who was a 12-year chair of the Bradley Beach Arts Council, passed away last Friday after a courageous battle with cancer, which recurred last November after a 6-year remission. Julia was the founding member of the Arts Council here. She started it. Her stage, screen, and movie accomplishments are too numerous to mention. She also wrote, directed, and produced. At least twice a year here in Bradley Beach, there would be a summer Shakespeare event on the promenade in the summer, and then another production in the fall, winter. Her last production was Driving Miss Daisy, a fitting final act for Julia. She will be missed by the community and her partner, Jackie Schneider. Julia was a few months short of her 86th birthday when she passed. She was a force of nature, and we certainly wish Julia to rest in peace. So I just ask for a moment of silence for Julia. Okay, we'll start with the first workshop item, which is amendments to chapter 5 for section 5.9. It's a follow-up discussion. There's been a couple of discussions on this, and rather than something.
I'm just kidding, Jim.
Oh, okay. I thought you were adding something.
No, no.
There's been a couple of discussions on this. My concern with this from the beginning has been that we had some early success in January with kind of compressing our meetings to a more reasonable level. We've kind of regressed back to the 3+ hour meeting. I think last meeting just came short of 4 hours. I made a few recommendations, the council's made a few recommendations that I think we want to talk through before an introduction. What might be a middle ground to reach on this. I can start the conversation. I kind of come up with 2 potential aids of helping us with reducing the time of the meetings. One was, for those who don't know it, by statute, you only need 1 comment section in your agenda. We have 2. 2 years ago, maybe 3, we extended the 3-minute limit to talk to 5 minutes. So we've got a number of occasions. Besides that, we have comments on workshops and comments on either introductions or adoptions of ordinances. So what's happened is we've really stretched into 3-4 hour meetings. So my recommendation was cut from 5 down to 3 minutes. Number one, or really set a no new business time limit on meetings, similar to what the land use meeting does. They set a no new business at 9:30, and they begin their meetings at 6:30, I think. So here are a couple things I brought up as potential possibilities to improve the situation. The concern that I have, and I have had, is the length of the meetings, number one. But 2, I think people don't come to the meetings sometimes because of the length of the meetings. And I know Councilman Weber over here to say they can come and go as they please, but I'm not sure everybody feels the same way. So those are my comments, and I'll wait for certainly welcome any other comments by the council. Excuse me.
I have a comment. This, something very, very similar to this is going on in Sayreville, New Jersey. The mayor sent us an article that mentions the mayor of Sayreville. He's trying to do something very similar. Just like the mayor, Mayor Fox says, the mayor in Sayreville says that people can take care of their questions between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. during the day. He too wants to limit comments from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. And he also has decided that he will, at his own, that mayor at his own discretion will decide if someone can speak a second time. And in doing that, he's also decided that no one can speak more than 5 minutes. I imagine this would be a timekeeping nightmare for the person who is keeping time to keep track of how long someone spoke originally, and then how long, if the mayor decides to grace him with the ability to speak again, to keep track of what would equate to the 5 minutes. But on top of that, the mayor of Sayreville called the residents dopey people who have no life. And I think that just shows the regard that this mayor in Sayreville have for the constituents. And when I was sent that article, though perhaps Mayor Fox was just trying to point out that other mayors are doing the same thing. I didn't take it that way. I took it as meaning that other people were trying to restrict the ability of constituents to make comments during this time period. And the people who wanted to do that didn't have much regard for the public. So those are my comments. I agree that sometimes there's a lot of conversations after everything that we bring up. I have made the suggestion that perhaps agenda comments can include workshop comments, regular agenda comments, and maybe ordinance comments. So I don't know, Greg, if ordinance comments have to be a standalone.
Yes, they have.
They do, okay. So maybe combine workshop comments and agenda comments into one. Keep everything at 5 minutes and then have another comment period. But I feel we need comments and questions. Every other town around here, their agendas say comments, but they allow comments and questions, and they do not have the problem that we do. And I think the mayor harkens back to January when things were going along smoothly. That's because nothing was going on in January. We didn't have much on the agenda in January. So those are my comments, and that's how I feel about it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I'll add to that. We started this conversation because a lot of people do have questions and they come up and they ask questions and it says comments. So we said, well, let's add comments or questions. Makes sense, right? If we serve the residents, they should ask questions. And then the mayor did send us that article about Mayor Kennedy O'Brien in Sayreville. But I went on the internet and I just looked up something that says council meetings, step-by-step guide. And it has some guidelines of how to run a council meeting. And it says council meetings should be procedural to reduce wastage, ensure every critical item is addressed, and encourage public participation. Okay, it's no surprise that these meetings run 2 to 3 hours, surpassing their scheduled time. It also said that council meetings allow residents to air their ideas or issues. The council must allow the public to participate in meetings as provided by law. And it says if the meeting is ineffective, a multiple of adverse outcomes can afflict the borough, its residents and various stakeholders in the following ways: slower or delayed decision-making, erosion of trust by the public and other stakeholders, and missed opportunities for positive change and innovation. Our residents are our biggest assets, not only by the revenue that you pay with your taxes, but the ideas you bring to the table here. We need your questions. We need your comments. And when I grew up, my mother had this print hanging in the house. It's a Norman Rockwell of a man asking questions at a town meeting. I didn't understand it as a child, but now I do understand it. It's also called freedom of speech. And I don't think anybody's freedom of speech should ever be tempered. And I welcome your questions. And I would say, if anybody up here doesn't welcome the questions, they need to get another job. Because that's our responsibility, is to serve the residents. And to serving you is my greatest honor. And I say thank you to everyone for attending and tuning in and for being there. We appreciate you and we need to hear from you. Thank you.
I just have a couple of very quick comments. I don't know, you probably don't really have a good sense of what some of the variables were that we debated. I don't know, Erica, did the residents get all 3 of our sample examples?
No, they're
Okay. So at the highest level, the council's had some opportunity to share thoughts, just at least thoughts prepared by our legal counsel, Mr. Cannon. And some of those opportunities range from cutting back the number of minutes from 5 to 3, as Councilwoman Mahoney said, consolidating our public's time to speak. The mayor alluded to land use board kind of sunsetting the meetings that are not introducing new business. So we bounced around a lot of the things actually that did come out of that Sayreville meeting. I'm very staunchly in agreement with what others on this council have just said. We serve the public and we're not going to temper anyone's freedom of speech. That said, and as you all probably recall, last meeting, we did introduce the specific language. Adding to the word comments, we said and questions, because at least there was some discussion about eliminating questions. So I think we'll find out when we vote, but I think we're all in agreement that we should never limit your questions other than to whatever time you're allowed. But the one thing that I am willing to consider, and it is something the mayor proposed, so hopefully this is a sign that we're working together a little bit, is a notion of, we had all these individual points in time where you, our residents, could get up and speak up to 5 minutes. After, if we had 2 workshops, for example, you could speak at workshop 1, then again, we have a second workshop, you speak at workshop 2, then maybe we have an ordinance that we're adopting, you could speak at the ordinance adoption. You also could speak at the regular public session on agenda items, and then you could speak again at the end of the meeting. So as an example, any one of you could get up and speak 5 times, 5 minutes each. And 25 minutes, you don't have to be a math genius to figure out that 3 or 4 or 5 members of our public speaking for their 5-minute allotments that could use a couple of hours of time. So the one thing I am willing to consider, and it is in one of our variables tonight, is what Councilwoman Mahoney referenced, which is asking the public to have 2 periods of time at the end of the session, as always, for everything. In the middle of the session, it's item 8 on our C-8. But the middle of our session, which basically you comment on the agenda and workshops. So the thing I'm prepared to vote for is not have the public comment at each workshop, but rather when you speak about the agenda, you would include your comments about the workshops. You would still independently be able to make comments for ordinance adoptions. So we're really just consolidating the potential for additional commentary on workshops. That one issue I'm willing to take a shot at to see if we can all go home a little earlier. I do think if we consolidate that, it's even more important that we allow the maximum of 5 minutes to remain, because now you may be talking about 2 workshops plus any other items on the agenda. So we just want to give you that quick summary.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So, Mr. Mayor, at the next meeting, we're going to introduce some language. Is there any value in discussing what everyone likes or doesn't like?
Well, I think I just heard it. But I think we should probably give the public 5 or 10 minutes to, if they have any comments. It's a workshop, so. I'll give the public 5 minutes if there's any comments or questions. If there isn't, we'll just.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Mia Mullen, 302 Fourth Avenue. You just need to hear it, Mr. Mayor, that people want to ask questions. It doesn't matter if it's within 3 minutes or 5 minutes. You can't take that privilege away of people asking questions. I haven't been to a meeting live in person recently, but I understand that our business administrator leaves during the public comments. And people have questions, and the business administrator has a wealth of information on that computer. And for her to walk out of the room and for you to not want to entertain questions is completely rude to the taxpayers who are here to understand and work with you as for their own town. So I'm glad you're looking at me, because the whole time that the other council people were speaking about the importance of asking questions, your head was down, you were taking notes. It's important to listen to people's arguments. I don't have the strongest argument other than people want to ask questions. They want to participate. Every other town participates. And if the timer goes off, then I'm happy to leave the podium. If the timer goes off in the middle of you responding to a question, I'm still happy to leave the podium. The timing the questions have nothing to do with the time. So if somebody comes up here and has one question and it takes 2 minutes to answer that, now we've saved time. Maybe you want to limit the time. I said it last week. If you want to go from 5 to maybe 4 minutes as a compromise, then maybe people will be a little bit more succinct and not repeat themselves when they're up here. They'll bring up issues that are more personal to themselves that are probably not of use to the general public. But I really think you have to listen to the people and not go out for answer, or for decisions that are solely your opinion. That's all. And I
Thank
can
you.
use the whole 5 minutes.
Please let the record reflect Councilman Weber arrived at 6:50 PM.
Thank you, and I guess the point, and you might have missed this point at a prior meeting, anybody can ask any question. What we'd like to do is, if you, between 8 and 4, Monday to Friday, you can talk. I'm sorry, I'm speaking, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, could you let me finish, please?
Now, I just need to clarify, because you're addressing something that is not in response to what I just said.
People can have the opportunity to ask questions Monday to Friday from 8 to 4 and get more comprehensive answers. I just wanted to make sure that you understood that point. Yes. Yes. No, I didn't.
Nancy Meadow, Ocean Park condominiums. I appreciate the comments made by the 3 council people. The bigger issue for me, if we go to questions, is the snap and standard answer of, I'm not answering that. So where I'd like to believe in a normal town, we could get answers. I don't know if that's gonna be good for Bradley Beach, or that Bradley Beach can adhere to that and be helpful. One good thing about having an answer in this venue, as opposed to Monday through Friday from 8 to 4, when not everyone is available, is it's for the record. I have inaccurate, and that's a euphemism, of answers in writing that is astounding me that it's actually from the government. I have unsigned answers that astounds me that comes from the government. So for my personal needs, whether it's about my unanswered correspondence or things that I think are for the better good of most people, I don't know if Bradley Beach can handle questions, and it all comes from trust. If we were given information to begin with, we probably wouldn't have questions unless it's a logistical kind of thing. So I think some soul searching needs to be done as to what kind of information you believe we the people are deserving of. And I did see 3 council people come to terms with that. And I'm also like, on this month, not using my 5 minutes.
Yes.
Beth Kepler, 504 Central Avenue here in Bradley Beach. I'm actually glad that you are bringing this subject up and trying to show where you really stand and what your policies are. Because it's 131 days, very short of all, depending on which side of the situation you're sitting for election day. And I hope that the residents are paying very close attention to the fact that we wanted not too long ago that we weren't here, and that meeting, I'd like to add, was a very short meeting. And the only time that the meetings seem to run very long are the meetings in which you are presiding over. But like I said, 131 more days till election. But you passed the resolution in support of gutting Old-Brook. And now you are expressing that you want to limit the voice of your constituents, that I'd like to remind you that you serve at the pleasure of. So I'd like to thank the other council members who understand and appreciate that they're doing a public service to us. And I'll just end my statements there. 131 days and counting.
Thank you.
TikTok.
Erica, the resolution on Oprah, where did that resolution come from?
It came from, well, I got that template from the Municipal Clerks Association of New Jersey, the president, but it's one that pretty much every town is using.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. The resolution that you proposed was a template from the state, who has now taken away our Oprah rights. So Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. But the resolution was redrafted by the council to object to our Oprah rights being taken away. And I'm someone who spent a lot of money on lawyers to get Oprah done properly in this town and not have documents 80% redacted. So those were redacted by your attorney's office, Mr. Bernstein. So now you're trying to take away more time from us. Now, I like to say, I have some answers here. I'm not just gonna criticize. Share information. There's this thing called the internet where you can post all the documents. Share information with us. Share information with the council. Would have been nice to know about Leonard Guida's situation, but you didn't share the document with anybody. Okay, and then you wonder why there's lawsuits. You wonder why the meetings take so long, okay? That's because your administration is not good, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take one more and then we're gonna move on. Yes.
I just have a couple of concerns. One is usually when I come up here, I'm sorry, Lauren Egbert, EGB, ERG, World 4.5, Brindley Avenue. It's usually when I speak or ask a question here, I'm hopeful that it's a question that will be of importance to everybody who's listening and everybody who watches the meeting later. So while I don't want them to go on forever or be of a tone that causes people not to listen, it certainly would not mean the same thing to the town at all to have questions answered in writing in response to an open request or from 8 to 4 or whatever hours the town is open. So I'm very, very grateful to the council for taking steps to ensure people's rights to ask questions publicly and receive whatever answer is possible publicly. The other thing I'd like to say is, you know, we talk a lot about the way Bradley Beach is. And I've been connected to Bradley Beach since I was 16 years old. And I've been conscious and present at a lot of council meetings for the past 16 years or so. I don't recall this problem. You know, I don't recall anyone suggesting that the meetings were nasty. I don't recall anyone suggesting that the meetings were too long. And it is my sincere hope that all candidates for office will be expressing their ideas about how we can get back to a cohesion and an atmosphere that Bradley deserves. This is a wonderful town. And, you know, I've said before, the neighbors that disagree with me the most are some of my most solid, helpful, neighborly neighbors. We can be like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we want to make a proposal on what we want to include in this.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable, again, we'll have to explain it to the audience, but I was pretty comfortable with scenario 3.
Yes, I agree.
And scenario 3 kept the minutes at 5, but would limit discussion, including questions, comments and questions, but would limit it to 2 opportunities during a typical meeting agenda and end of meeting. But it would fold in the workshop commentary into the agenda commentary. And it would not touch what exists today around ordinance adoption. You'd have a separate opportunity to comment and have questions on ordinance adoption. I think that's really it, right?
I agree.
Okay, so that's the proposal.
That's,
Okay, so we'll just ask attorney to put that together.
So number 3.
I think I already did, so I think we're good.
Okay,
Just put a number on.
all right.
Thank you.
okay. Took you 3 shots, Greg.
However many it takes, I'll get.
Got it.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Make a motion to approve June 12th, 2024 council business meeting minutes.
Second,
Mr. Noble,
yes.
Mr. Gubatese,
Yes,
Ms. Mahoney,
Abstain.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mayor Fox.
Yes. Excuse me, approval of minutes for the June 12th, 2024 executive session minutes, make a motion to approve.
Second,
Mr. Noble?
I'm making them meetings better.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yeah, abstain.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox.
Yes. Okay, public comments pertaining to the 626 agenda items only. Any? Yes, she's been excused.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. May the record reflect that the acting business administrator, Mr. Marco, has left the room.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. I just want to make that sure that's on record.
Thank
It
you.
should be put on by the person running the meetings. I'd like to know about 2024-148, in terms of this transportation, grant for Main Street reduction and lighting and improvements. Do we know the scope of the proposed work? There's nothing attached in the
We're working on that grant right now. It's gonna augment our Main Street, our already Main Street grant. We're hoping to augment that.
So augment means what? I mean.
Get more funding.
You're funding it, but what are you doing? I mean, we're here the residents, you're asking the council to vote on this. But you're not telling us what the scope of work is, what's looking to be done. Is it a matching grant? None of that information's here. Just, okay, let us submit the application. So CME prepares the application at a cost to the residents, and we don't even know what it's for. I mean, this is the communication that I'm talking about, Mayor. This is how it should be laid out. So that's my first question. And I would say there's been no additional input from the public on the budget. We've gotten, the public has received no other documents, no other breakdowns. What has changed? I mean, it's really silly to have this on here again. I'd like to know about the new construction official. Do we know where they've worked before?
Here. He works here.
He works here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. That's wonderful. I'm sorry to, we're losing Mr. Lasaka. He's been here for a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Of course, yes. There's a point on Mr. Osako. He got a promotion in his current position as Asbury Park, which is his primary reason for having to refocus.
Nancy Meadow, Ocean Park condominium. There seems to be an inconsistency with, people hired and or promoted, and when their, resume or career accomplishments are shared with us and when they're not. I started with the example that it wasn't until Mr. Frenberg left his contract pending assignment that his, resume was read to us. Prior to, the new chief being sworn in, his resume was given to us. Their accomplishments. VA never once was any match here with us. So it would be nice to have procedures as to what information is given to the public, and I would think it should be prior to being hired. You know, of course, the applicant or person can waive the right or not allow it, which certainly I respect. But again, the inconsistency within our town is of concern to me. Regarding the Main Street lighting project, I really hope they do, you know, it's a county road and we have county lights. And then a barrage of other, I guess, more decorative lights. I don't know that we can do anything about the county lights. But I find them blinding to the point of not even knowing to turn on my own personal lights at night. I also think, you know, this is the part with the bill list. The public would probably like to know who on page 14 is the attorney that's getting all that money. Why on page 20 again, we're paying file bank. Maybe when they, now it occurred to me, maybe when they say we don't have any records, they mean file bank has our records. I consider file bank part of us. So I think our records should be there. We're spending an awful lot of clothing and life lifeguards this year, and I don't even know who's a lifeguard. Because they're all wearing black, blue, red, orange, green. Really? It just continues and continues with really, it hurts. And then to say that we're gonna have volleyball for special needs people and no borough assistance is required. This is a 2-hour event in July and August, where I would hope that people are being hydrated. I would tend to think that adds to our garbage and tipping fees. I bring this up each and every meeting because people think, oh, we don't need help. Well, let's see what would happen if garbage was not picked up. Because if I were a DPW person, I might not be able to work that message. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Beth Kepler, 504 Central Avenue here in Bradley. I would like to, go on the record to encourage, please, the council, to not pass this introduction of the budget for obvious reasons of the unorthodox and unethical practice of not allowing you to have direct access to our CFO to ask questions and have conversations about a budget for us that you're being asked to pass. And in regard to the fact that we are now sitting approaching the beginning of July and that we still do not have a budget, much like how most people would run their own home, you know, as enjoyable as it is to have fun things and go on vacation and do recreational things, I think it's highly irresponsible that we are going to be spending $15,000 for a fireworks display. And having lived here my whole life, I know that there are, and there have been on a few occasions, times when we couldn't afford to do that. And executive decisions were made to not do so. But apparently, this year, we're going to be spending $15,000 on fireworks, another $2,500 I see on the bills list for a band. And I just think that that's extremely irresponsible and unethical to do that and to spend money that's not necessary and on things that are frivolous when we don't have a budget and our council can't speak with our chief financial officer, which, you know, I've heard, like Mr. Weber say in the past, he's worked on several budgets in the past over the course of his terms as councilman, and he's never experienced a time when he was limited and actually blocked from speaking to that financial officer and not being a party to that budget process. And in fact, it's my understanding that our council are not allowed to speak with any of the department heads in regard to the budget situation. And I just think that that should be noted, and I'd like to encourage the council, when it comes time, to please vote this down. I'd like to see the DCA come in here and finally straighten things out, get to the bottom of what's going on.
Thank you. Yeah.
Lauren Egbert for 4.5 Greenland Avenue. My concern with respect to the budget, and it brings me right around to DPW and not understanding what's happening with them and not understanding what's happening with their contract. We have now going on no contract for 2023, no contract for 2024. They have been one of the brightest spots of living in Bradley Beach, right next to the ocean. Fabulous service. I have lived here when it seemed to be a private company or somebody from outside. It was a whole different ballpark. And, you know, I have no idea, and we can ask the questions of what is holding this up for 1.5 years. And, you know, I don't know who it's serving, what end it's serving, what the stumbling blocks are. And I certainly hope, you know, and now I can't ask the question whether we're down a couple of people in DPW. I had heard that. That is a question of concern to me too. I think that we should have a contract for them and a budget that includes what the results of that is. My other concern is the resolution for the sale of 319 Lorraine. And my concern there is I didn't see any restrictions on what variances the land use board can give once there is a sale and building plans start. And I'm familiar with the land use board, having been on the zoning board. And I know that they are, there is a possibility of use variances, which means that although it's a single family zone, if they get a use variance, or people get use variances, then we could have multi-family, multi-unit dwellings there. Lord knows what we could have there if somebody makes a case for that the land use board is willing to find valid. And that being the case, it also brings up the point that with our form of government that we have right now, there's only one person who appoints that entire board. So this is of concern for me in that section of town. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the next agenda item, which is, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I didn't see.
No,
it.
that's this.
No, that's the cursor.
Okay, my bad.
Home champion, 411 Lorraine Avenue. I'd like to make comments on resolution 2024-150. I can get it up here. First of all, I object to one of your whereases. Reads, whereas the borough's governing body has determined that the sale of the property is in the best interests of all residents and taxpayers. I find this highly questionable. Certainly not in my interest, and I'm one of the all. And I would remind you all that it's certainly not in the interest of this borough to sell any of its assets, especially one which has been misrepresented to you as being a white elephant, quote unquote. In no way would this property have ever been a white elephant. You could have done wonderful things with this property, with grant money, with donations. The negativity from certain members of this governing body has been very disappointing. We are destroying something which we'll never be able to replace. Bradley Beach will never have a wonderful concert space, meeting space, banquet space. There's no way that you're ever going to be able to afford it. You would have been able to afford it with this property. We're losing it. And I think that's a tragedy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
You have a question, I don't know, I'm still answering questions. Lauren kind of sparked this for me with the land use board, that only one person, 302 Fourth Avenue. Me and Lauren, thanks. Sorry, that's all right, trying to be quick. That only one person, appoints the land use board, and I just learned that on Second or Third Avenue, right on Central, that now they're building multi-family homes where there used to be single family homes. So the land use board somehow approved this, and it's very disappointing, because it's just gonna bring in less, the whole parking and the density situation right in that part of the neighborhood there. It's very upsetting when I heard about that. But that's not my point. It's just that somebody, I guess it's the mayor, appoints these people onto the land use board, and then it's people that may not even have a background in architecture or zoning or density, watching out for density. It's just people that say, oh, it look pretty, let's build it, let them build it. I really don't know what's involved. I'm not part of that, but this is what I've heard, and other neighbors have heard too. So with the appointments, I'm wondering about, it says, TJ brought this up before with the temporary, appointing the temporary acting construction official. Does that mean that that position will be posted and there will be consideration of candidates that council will be involved with, all of council with their advice? And I forget what the terminology is, where you're supposed to advise the mayor on what you think is a good candidate based on the resumes. Will the whole council be involved? in the hiring of that? Because actually a lot of shaking heads of no.
No, it's not one of those positions.
It's not one of those, okay, because I thought maybe it's like the VA position where it's a appointed position and it's considered, I think, acting, meaning it's in a way temporary. I wondered if we're still putting out a posting for that and if we've been interviewing for that so that it becomes a permanent position, or do we just keep the acting ongoing?
Yes, ongoing.
Sorry,
Ongoing.
it's ongoing as acting, but yeah, if we're gonna hire somebody for the construction official, but we're not gonna hire a permanent position for the VA. With resumes and credentials, qualifications. And our VA isn't even here at the meeting.
I excused her.
But I understand that she leaves every meeting during comments and questions, so. I just wondered if we're gonna get somebody who's doing the job, well, to its full extent. Not partially. Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions. We will move to the consent agenda. I'm sorry, we won't move to the consent agenda. I skipped. We have no ordinances. We have one communication on DPW seasonal employee. That's communication, and then we have the consent agenda, which I think only has 2 items on it. It does. Consent agenda is the bill list with June 26th. And then the second is authorizing rally cap sports to conduct volleyball for participants with special needs on Wednesdays in July and August from 6 to 8 at Cliff and Ocean Avenue. No borough assistance required. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda discussion. Yeah.
Just discussion, very brief on the bill list, because Councilwoman Mahoney, I know that just a few hours ago, I don't know, earlier in the day anyway, you did ask a handful of questions, which I agreed with. Did you get any response to those? Or can you share them with the public?
Yes. I did ask questions. I had asked what on page 1 the cash was for Sean Peter for the beach. Yeah, I asked if that was a transfer from the current fund for $7,000, and I was told it comes out of the beach fund and goes back to the beach fund. And I had sent a follow-up asking if that's a transfer out of and back, but I don't know if I received an answer because it was later in the day. I didn't have a chance to check, and I can't ask the BA because she's not here. And then I had questions on what's our page 5 on CME Associates. I just had a question because the encumbered date, there were a couple of invoices that were encumbered on 8/3/23 and they were paid on 6/24/24. And one of them was serviced through 11/24/23. It was paid on 6/24/24. I don't know much about encumbered. I mean, I know what you pulled the money, but why was it encumbered on 8/16/23, but then paid on 6/24?
It's very possible we didn't get an invoice until now. That does happen. I have seen it happen from even my accounts payable days.
We don't pay unless they have signed off on POs.
And yes, that also.
So I'm just wondering why someone like CME, who we have such a relationship with, is billing us so.
It
You
could
know,
happen.
it's happened with even the prior.
I'm sure it could happen at any company. I'm just,
I guess on that particular topic, I know for a fact, and I think it even happened with Mr. Cannon's firm, there are times when the borough is very late in paying a bill, and there are other times, to your point, Erica, that we just get invoiced late. Is there-
Or like the mayor just said, signing off on the POs. If we don't get the PO back, and it does happen. Not frequently, thank goodness, but.
Is there any way for us as a council to understand when these dates are so misaligned, when we're seeing the bill is 8 months after a service has been supposedly rendered? Is there any way for us to tell when it's a late invoice as opposed to when we are late.
That would be a finance question.
It's on the. It's on the report. Like the date that the invoices were entered into Edmunds is on the report.
Yeah.
So on page 5, for example, Kristen, you were asking about CME.
So if I could mention, because you did mention something that I brought up in the past, however, I have to say that issue, at least from my perspective, has been alleviated. But I know that they don't process invoices every single day because I see the entry numbers just on my own invoices. I will say the borough's gotten a lot better. Every municipality pays late from time to time. This time of year, municipalities have to pay the schools and are extremely light on money. And so like that's oftentimes, like it's built into my cash flow model at my business. I know that this time of year, the town's usually take an extra 30 days to pay. You know, if it's 8 months later, it's probably the professional didn't send the bill in, to be honest with you. In my more recent experience, the last several months.
So again, less interested though in the generalities, more interested in this and in. With CME, I'm looking at the middle of page 5, and it looks like. Received date, would that be the date the invoice was received?
No, first income, well, actually, the receipt date is when we marked it received to go on the bill list for payment. But
So-
at that point, we would have received the invoice from the company, otherwise we wouldn't have marked it received to be paid.
So then how do we know when it was paid?
Yeah, well, how do we know first when the invoice was received if it's not the receipt date like?
You would know that unless it's in the description on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
When all the steps by the person who's
See
asking
where
to
it
be
says
paid.
invoice number? Right next to check void date.
Right hand side,
Right here.
right hand.
Yeah, all the way.
Your other right, your other right hand out.
Okay,
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
mine's very faded.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
so first encumbrance date is when it's put into the system as a PL. And then you have,
Then the contractor has to return the PO.
right, then the contractor has to return the PO signed. Then they provide an invoice, which you see all the way there to the right where it says invoice. And then we mark it received, so it can go on the bill list for payment.
So thankfully, we have a clerk who worked a lot of.
Yeah, yes.
But Erica, I see the invoice number but does that receive date correlate with the invoice?
Yes, it
number?
does.
Okay, good.
Yeah. That
So-
would be the accounts, whoever is entering or doing the accounts payable.
Okay.
Yes, they have
So
to.
back to
provide the invoice.
Councilwoman Mahoney's question, these are invoices that were received 5/30, June 7th, so we're only a few weeks out.
Yeah.
It appears.
Yes. That's
Okay, great. No, thank you. That helps. So that's the end of discussion for me.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
Mr. Noble?
yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes,
Ms. Mahoney?
yeah.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. Okay, individual resolutions, we have 5. The first is introduction of 2024 budget by read only to be read by title only. Make a motion to approve 2024-86.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Okay, so. I wanna say we've made progress, but we haven't made complete progress. And I wish we started this process back in November. I talked to other boroughs and they say you get to meet with the department head. And you discuss what they need, what their plans are for the next year. We didn't have that. You get to meet with the CFO. We met with the CFO when you met with the CFO. We had a workshop here, but we did interview him, so we met with him twice. We don't have access. We can send emails, but we can't just have a conversation. And you know the difference between sending an email and having a conversation. You say, this is this, oh, right, well, what, oh, good. So it's a sluggish process and we're just not there yet. So I can't say yes until I look at what happened, like we had this increase last year, what was it, 13.2%? And now we're looking at another 3.75. We're depleting our savings on top of that. We need answers, why this is happening, where is this money going? And until we really feel good about this, we can't, I mean, I can't say yes to this. And for that reason, I'm saying no.
Thank you.
for the record, we did have a 0.2% tax increase last year. While at that same time, we're also told by our CFO that we did not replenish $600,000 of surplus, which roughly equated to another 8% had we had a quote unquote adequate tax rate. So taxes last year effectively for all of us, were our money was spent, was really equated to something close to a 21% tax increase, 13 plus the surplus. I say this every meeting, last meeting I said definition of insanity, same thing over and over, expecting different results. And just so everyone knows, because you're gonna hear more about this in the near future, we keep asking questions, the mayor keeps responding. So we are getting responses, and you're gonna hear this. The only difference is the mayor and his team will say they answered the question. And as far as we're concerned, we're not getting the answers we're looking for, so we're just missing each other. And until this council can understand the budget, I'm not saying the budget is wrong. Council President DeNoble, though, just said the mayor's requesting 3.74% that's what the number is, I believe. But I can't even suggest that to you as being comparable to the 13.2 last year, because 13.2, we spent a lot of time with the CFO understanding all the drivers of that number. It probably should have been a lot higher. We almost agreed to draw down our surplus a little bit to make it only 3.2%. This year, we're being told by the mayor that 3.74 or whatever the exact number is a reasonable percentage. But unlike last year, we've had what I feel is not sufficient information to understand that budget. I can't tell you if it's 3.7 and I agree, I disagree. I can't tell you if it should be 10 or if it should be -3. I don't know, because we're not getting the answers that we're asking. I'm not going to take you through a litany of examples, but the answers are very vague. The answers tell the council to look up different documents, look at the document from the March 27th meeting, look at the document from the April 10th meeting. These are documents we've looked at. These are documents that generated the questions in the first place. But when we put together an exhibit and say, can you got numbers everywhere, just put them in place for us. The actual answer was, if you need the numbers put into your exhibits, we'll have the clerk do it. And in fairness to our clerk, who's a very busy woman, I just could not imagine asking our clerk to complete financial exhibits. So bottom line is, there's just a disconnect here. I don't know why. It is absolutely the definition of insanity. But when we get to vote again, once again, I am not going to be able to support the budget introduction.
And you have to vote. That's now.
No.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Mahoney?
So I feel the same way as my accounting colleagues. I got the answers yesterday that the mayor sent over, and I got to about the third answer and my eyes glazed over. We were told to refer back to spreadsheets that we had already talked about on March 27th, April 3rd, April 10th, a spreadsheet, a PDF that we had asked not to have to use because it's a PDF and you can't really work with the data, which is a state form. In our answers, we were told to go back and refer to those documents to find the answers. So it was, can you give us the answer to this? Here's the question. The answer was, you can refer back to the spreadsheets to find your answer. Okay. I didn't, the spreadsheets have multiple tabs. Some of the spreadsheets we've said aren't missing information. When we first attempted to get the answers we brought up issues with missing information on spreadsheets, numbers that did not correspond, and answers that were vague. The answers that we have just received ask us to refer back to the very spreadsheets that have missing information and are very confusing, and numbers do not correspond. I was going to give you guys all a calculation to do, but spare you. One big issue that we all need to be concerned about is the 600K in reserve that this administration plans to spend to cover our operating costs. Reserves that are not usually spent move into surplus. In this case, the administration would like to take 600K of reserves and use it to cover our ordinary operating costs. If these are our ordinary operating costs, and this is a one-time dip in the bucket, from where will we get the needed 600K next year to cover these normal operating costs? Sadly, it seems like we are short 600K, which Al just said is equivalent to 8%, 8% in taxes. We are short 600K, and we can either find cuts or we can raise taxes. But we can't be stealing from Peter to pay Paul. Because Paul's gonna be broke next year once we take his 600K. I couldn't follow the answers that we got. And we don't have good answers. So I don't know.
Councilman Weber,
Now,
Mayor Fox.
yes. And I need to just respond on this question of fund surpluses. We hold, I don't know what the number is right now, but
1.2.
I'm sorry, could I speak, please?
Yeah. Didn't know the number.
What number?
1.2 million is our new surplus.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. So we have, between our utilities and the current fund, last year at this time, it was, the number was around $5 million of reserves. Those reserves come from taxpayer, taxes that have happened in prior years. In municipal budgeting, the objective is to end the year with some level of push, I'll call it, or we have underspent, call it underspending. And that's held for a year, then goes into your fund balances going forward. That's the process that municipal budgeting goes through. It's not corporate accounting, it's not GAAP, it's none of that. And so our CFO went through the analysis. We ended last year at about $1.3 million of unspent monies. And the spend level against those funds has been light. So he conservatively said we can use 600, we should expect $600,000. So that's what that is. So the idea of saying that we're depleting a savings account is just not true. It's the way that municipal budgets work.
Where are you gonna make up the extra? So if you have 1.3, you spend 600. Then the next year you spend down the 600 from the 1.3. And these are normal operating expenses. It's not like someone took C4 and dropped it in the middle of town and blew up 5 buildings that you need to build back with that 600K. How are you gonna get, so the next year you need the other 600K. How are you gonna keep getting that 600K?
The expectation is that you won't spend to the level of your budget. Unfortunately, that has been our experience.
And
So-
I don't think we have enough money to pay for DPW or the police. I think your 3.2 number, unfortunately, everybody, is too low.
3.75.
3.75, I think that number is too low. To maintain, to do what we need to do. Unfortunately.
What, no, I'm sorry, what the mayor said was true, that those reserves typically get released and they flow into surplus. What our CFO shared with us briefly in the limited opportunity yet to present to the public, was that 600,000 of revenue, it's a one-time infusion of revenue, it's basically going to be the dollars that repay the money we borrow from surplus. In other words, if we didn't have that, we'd be in another deficit again. So it's a one-time infusion of $600,000 that should flow to our surplus. We're going to spend it in order to not take from our surplus. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the same thing. We took $1 million in 2022 from our surplus, didn't repay it. 2023, we took 1.1 million from our surplus, only replenished 500,000. i.e., we did not replenish 600,000. In those 2 years, we depleted our surplus $1.6 million. This year, as far as we can tell, because I can't ask, I actually did ask the CFO this question. And if you go back to that meeting, it was a very brief response. But I did ask, this 600,000 that Councilwoman Mahoney is referencing it seems to be a one-time infusion. Is this sustainable? And his answer at that meeting was, I believe it is. I got this from somewhere else. It was it was not his own work. It was a reference that,
He did the fund balance analysis.
we can go back to the video.
We can go back to the video, because I remember what he said, and, but by the way, he was there to answer questions, and basically, one or two questions came up, and then it was, let's move on.
That is just not
That is true. I'm
as I
sorry.
recall it.
Well,
Because I've got,
they go back and look at the tape. Thank you.
Larry, I gave you 15 freaking questions. Pardon me losing my patience, ladies and gentlemen. After creating over 100 questions, I reduced it to 15 significant questions. And what you're hearing today is exactly what we're dealing with as a council. The mayor in his beginning comments said something about having 5 million of reserves. Then he changed it to 1.3. We have an email that told us.
No. I didn't, don't.
You made a reference.
No, I said that our total surpluses last year between the two utilities and the current funds was around $5 million, and that's correct.
Yeah, but
That's
no
different
one
than-
adds those together. Those are totally
No, I'm
independent.
just saying that that's taxpayer money that has been paid in taxes. That's the first thing I said. The second thing I said is, it is true.
Taxpayer money funded the beach utility, taxpayer money funded the sewers. I don't think so.
Yeah, they do.
Taxpayer money doesn't fund the beach.
Okay, so let me just reference something else, and then we'll move on, because this vote's already been taken. You know, these 15 questions, a team of people did respond to those questions. There was a set of questions that Councilman Gubitosi asked on April 17th, that those same people spent probably 3 or 4 hours answering, never received a response. So these hundreds of questions that have been asked, some of them aren't questions, some of them are, I'd like to see a trend analysis, so fill in the blanks on this couple of years worth of information. That's not a requirement of the CFO. When I have a trend analysis to do, when I look at beach badges, when I look at lockers, when I look at budgets, I have budgets going back about 8 or 10 years. I do the analysis. I do the trend analysis. So
We did not ask for a trend analysis. We asked for side-by-side budget.
which
comparison.
is in the state budget document.
No,
Side by, yes, it is 24 and 23. is
that's
in-
all. We asked for 22, because 22, ladies and gentlemen, is where we spent an extra $1 million. I'm not going to continue this. The bottom line is, you're going to hear a lot about, the mayor has answered all our questions. I'm here to tell you, we are not understanding the answers. We cannot vote for a budget as a council that we don't understand because we represent you. That's bottom line.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, in resolution 2024-147, authorizing private sale of surplus property of Bradley Beach Fire Division. Make a motion to approve 2024-147.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes,
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes,
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes, 2024-148, approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for Main Street pedestrian and lighting improvements project. Make a motion to approve 2024-148.
I do have a question. What is this exactly and how much money is it for?
The application, I don't have what the exact is it in the board?
I didn't get the application. I just got the rest of
I
it.
can get to that.
Is this?
This came up, CME found this, it's part of, some state money that's available. It was viewed as something we could augment our Main Street funding with. I can get you what that number is.
Okay, so this is in addition
Yes.
Yes.
to that?
Yes.
So the idea being that we've got this, was the dollar figure was 1.4 on Main Street.
Yep.
And we're trying to figure out what to do with that, but before we get to, before that even starts to happen, the new funding got announced. We're gonna apply for that. We'll probably hear about that in February, and so come February, we may know, do we have enough money to do everything that we want, or are we gonna just be able to, pick and choose and do some of the things we want, so hopefully that answers some questions.
Would this involve like LED lighting? Is that why there's the possibilities for this?
Yes, I mean, that's one of the things we're looking at. We have to pick and choose the size, and I think some of those answers are gonna decide if we get this second grant. Because the 1.4, it's enough to do some things, it's
It
not.
doesn't go very far. Okay,
It goes to about, Lorraine, no.
okay, so you're familiar with this grant process?
Yeah, I mean, this is the same pot of money, right, Mr. Mayor, that we got the 1.4 from.
Well, it's Department of Transportation.
DOT, yeah. So yeah.
Move for second?
Oh,
No, we're looking for, I think we already had a second.
Did we do a
I
second?
didn't get a second yet.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Can I get a second?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Noble,
yes.
Mr. Gubertenzi?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. 2024-149 resignation construction
Can
official.
people, please silence your phones? I keep hearing the phone, I don't know where it's coming from. But thank you, sorry to interrupt you. Amanda.
Resignation, 2024-149 resignation of construction official.
Disappointing or?
No, just the resignation, yeah.
We have to vote on?
That really it should say, and I will adjust the agenda, but it's an appointment for the acting temporary construction official, and that resolution does also state who's resigning, so,
We have to vote on?
yes. Yeah, the state needs a resolution because you're appointing an acting temporary.
So I thought the mayor just said this isn't somebody that needs advice and consent.
The hiring,
No,
this is
no.
just an acting.
Right, but the state, because this is a licensed official, you have to have a resolution to send to the state. Because you're appointing,
Register them as the
to
person.
register them as the person in that role.
Okey dokey. In that case, I will second.
Thank you. Mr. Noble?
So Steve Lasaka is the one resigning. Did he resign yet?
I believe he's resigning on the 27th
Okay.
tomorrow.
I just want to say he was a great person. He did a great job. I really enjoyed working with him anytime I had encountered him. And I vote yes, and I wish him all the best.
Mr. Gubertin?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney? Yeah. Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. 2024-150, authorizing the sale of 317 to 319 Lorraine Avenue, also known as Block 41, Lot 1 on the tax map of borough in accordance with NJSA 4012-13. Make a motion to approve 2024-150.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Okay, I did want to make a couple comments real quick. Greg, I did send you for 3H to be put under the deed restrictions.
Yes, so I'll announce that amendment and then who made the motion?
The mayor made them.
I made the motion.
If you, the mayor could then make his motion as amended. So I ran this resolution, forgive me, I shouldn't say I. Councilwoman Noble ran this resolution, passed our affordable housing attorney. And he recommended that condition H be moved down as a deed restriction. Element that was just immediately below it in the resolution to memorialize it as part of the transfer of the property as well. The release from any potential builders remedy lawsuits is condition H. So I had made that amendment and can send that to you, Erica, as amended to the meeting.
Okay.
We could just have the mayor move the motion as amended and get another second.
I'll make the motion as amended.
Second. Mr. Noble?
Okay, and then Ms. Egbert, you had asked a question earlier about the deed restrictions that is covered in this. I don't know if you got a copy of this resolution. But it does say that the property may be used or developed for any purpose, may not be, hold on. Let's do this again. Okay, may not be used or developed for purpose which property tax exemption may be granted. 2, the property may only be used for single family residential dwelling purposes with lawful accessory structures. I think that was what you asked about me earlier. So that is covered in this. So I think that's, oh, and then also with the subdivision plat, this was revised pretty recently, so I did ask Ben. I have a very small copy. I didn't see the date of the revision. I think the original date was 2023, April. So I just made a motion that, made a recommendation that he has the revised date on here.
So the actual plat that he revised and sent back to us, he left the plan date the same. So I did open it up and specifically look at what the plan data is on the piece of paper, the bidders will receive, and it's 4/13/2023, notwithstanding that it does reflect the discussions of 6/7/24.
Okay,
So I left it the same so that when the bidders get it, all the documents they get matched by date. By date, even if the date on that plat isn't exactly accurate to the last revision.
okay, because Ms. Beams said there should be a revised date on the subdivision plat as well.
I agree, that's what I opened it up to look for, but there was not. on the
Okay,
top.
so maybe we can all add that as well, the revised date.
We can change those type.
Okay.
If we get a revised date plot, we can certainly change those typos. I mean, that's not a substantial. portion
Okay,
of
that's,
it.
I did send an email to Ben as well.
But as we sit here tonight, all the paperwork matches with those dates.
Okay, excellent. Okay, my vote is yes.
Mr. Gubatese?
I want to thank Council President DeNoble for jumping into action here. We got these materials earlier today, didn't have a lot of time, and we were all working on different elements of preparing for tonight's meeting. So thank you, Council President, for contacting our professionals, working, of course, with Mr. Cannon. I will vote yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
I am sad to see the church go, but if it has to go, I think this is the best plan for it to go, and thank you again to Councilwoman Noble for her acumen on this. Much appreciated. I vote yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Leonard?
No,
I think I'll abstain.
Fox?
yes.
The other thing I want to mention before we get off the topic is, this is a very unique circumstance. And so the bid documents as they're presently written are written in such a way with the restrictions and the reservations to protect the borough in the best way possible. That seems like the best maybe this auction will be successful, maybe it won't. I don't deign predict how that will go. But in either event, we've started at the first stepping stone. And we may find that to get the best price and what the borough wants, we may need to move some of those risks that you see, there's a lot of restrictions in there. We may need to move some of those to make it more palatable to the market that we find. But the notion is within 30 days, we'll have that information, and we can move forward if there's other stepping stone from there. But everyone should go forward with that knowledge. And this is really written to protect the borough at this point, because we don't know what market we're stepping into, and that's the safest way to do it. If it doesn't work this time, there's no conclusion against doing it in 30 days with the knowledge that we gained from doing it this time.
Wonderful. I'll keep an eye on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to announcements. There are none. Move now to the mayor and council reports. I can lead off here. First, we're working, I need to make this announcement to get it on the record. We are working on mitigation plans against cyber attack. The borough will be formalizing a technology policy in accordance with the New Jersey JIF intermediate group standards. There will be a resolution at the 7/10 meeting. I'll get you those words.
Thank you.
Summer's officially here. Thus far, we're clicking on all cylinders relative to our beachfront. The first 2 weekends have been an enormous success. We can hopefully, if the weather holds, hopefully we'll stay on that path. The summer camp kicked off Monday. Happy to report that we have 96 campers, up from 65 last year. We're fully staffed, ready to go. Thanks to Courtney Pappas and her team that have gotten us ready to go on the camp. In addition to the continued focus on projects that we've received and funding we've received at a county, state, and federal level, I'm happy to report that last week we received a $72,000 phase 2 grant from the local recreation grant fund. Again, a $72,000 grant. The application was for baseball field drainage and really the whole ball field area. So we're happy about that. We'll add that to the work that we're trying to do around town. We're continuing to work on Main Street, the unused asset grant, the Promenade grant, Sylvan Lake grant, Lake Terrace Park. That grant is complete, and we had a ribbon cutting ceremony last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, primarily recognizing that project and the bridge that was rebuilt last year over Fletcher Lake. We didn't get to that last year. Public Works, Police, Recreation Administration participated with their area residents. It was a nice event. July 4th fireworks festivities are in process. Check the website for events. Congratulations to our 8th grade Bradley Beach Elementary School. Graduation was last Wednesday. They had a pretty busy couple weeks, took a trip to Washington, and there was really standing room only for a celebration for our 19 graduates. On the library and recreation, please just check the website for upcoming events. That is my report. Council President.
Okay. Tourism. There was a meeting Tuesday, June 18th. They reviewed their advertising, their summer events, their QR code, a couple of resolutions as well, and they are heading to a very busy season. Unfortunately, the movie Grease was canceled tonight due to the weather. It's been postponed to Monday, July 1st in Riley Park. And then Tuesday, July 2nd, country line dancing at the beach gazebo begins. And on Wednesday, July 3rd, the National Guard Army Band will perform in Riley Park at 6 p.m. The fireworks will be Friday, July 15th on the beachfront. And on Saturday, July 6th, the Saturday in the Park Summer Music Series makes its way back to Riley Park with Kenny K and The Way. And the showtime is from 5 to 7 p.m. And the tourism encourages guests to pick up local takeout from the Bradley Beach's awesome restaurants. And in addition, the Tourism Commission has chosen to dedicate the Saturday in the Park music series this year to Julia Sandra Grant. Julia was the chair of the Bradley Beach Arts Council for 12 years. Her passion and commitment to the arts will be greatly missed in our borough. In addition, the Bradley Beach Elementary School, the Board of Ed had a meeting I attended on June 24th. They had a few items, especially there was a PTA donation. They donated over $20,780 for their extracurricular activities and services. And they also had the first scholarship presentation by the Bradley Beach Bradley Beach Education Foundation. And Tracy Davidson supplied you this. The recipient was Joshua
Neshawat.
I knew that. And I'm just gonna read a brief statement because I think it's so awesome. And this is from Joshua. Growing up in Bradley Beach has had a profound influence on my life, shaping who I am today. My journey began at Bradley Beach Elementary School, where the close-knit community and dedicated teachers fostered my curiosity and passion for learning. It was there that I first discovered my interest in engineering, thanks to the inspiring educators. He's blessed to be enrolling now at Rutgers University, and he'll be studying mechanical engineering. Kudos to you, kudos to the foundation, and kudos to Joshua. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gubatoshi. Thank you. First, I have as the liaison to the police, I have a police report provided to me by Detective Lieutenant Browning. So thank you to the Detective Lieutenant, who I believe is on vacation this week. On June 16th, around 1 a.m., 2 subjects, one male, one female, were arrested for stealing the borough's pride flag, which was displayed in Riley Park on Main Street. A witness observed the pair cutting the flag down and riding off with it on bicycles. And very quickly, Sergeant Solaro and Patrolman Johnson located them at a local bar. The flag was recovered in a nearby garbage can, and the 2 subjects were charged with theft, criminal mischief, and bias intimidation, based on the fact they stole the flag due to what it represents. Detective Lieutenant Browning and Chief Arnold followed up the next day, and after bringing the subjects back in for questioning, ended up charging the male with the theft of the 2 other pride flags that were stolen on June 5th. That male, received 2 more counts of theft and bias intimidation. Charges are still under consideration for the female party. In another incident, a field contact by patrols during the overnight hours revealed a local subject was wanted out of Neptune City for burglary, and he was arrested. This subject has a prior history of burglary and other offenses in our surrounding towns, and we applaud the proactive nature of our officers as he was most likely up to no good the night he was stopped. Lastly, on Thursday, June 20th, Chief Arnold, the Police Administration, and Detective Bureau partnered up with the Answer, ANSWER, all caps, team in their large-scale drill, which was held on the Evergreen Avenue beach. The level of cooperation between our new police administration and these other agencies is noted by all parties that participate, and they applaud us for being so actively involved. We posted a lot of great photos and details about the team and the drill on our police department Facebook page. This is my addition to that report, that finally our K-9 unit will make a presentation at our next council meeting in July. This is a fascinating story of achievement by our Bradley Beach Police Department, and I encourage all of our residents to join this K-9 workshop at our next meeting, which I believe is July 10th. So I am the Sylvan Lake liaison, so I'll make a brief comment about the Sylvan Lake Commission. Last week, the Sylvan Lake Commission held a meeting and invited the environmental commissions from both Avon by the Sea and Bradley Beach to attend. The main focus of the meeting was to make sure that our two municipalities work together to save the health of Sylvan Lake. The lake is 1 to 2 feet deep in most areas and desperately needs to be dredged in order to save it. Grant funding used for bulkhead repair, Bradley Beach, and living shorelines, Avon, need to be applied with a goal of supporting the main objective that both towns share, which is save the lake. Commission members all embrace this goal and will continue to provide advice and guidance to the two borough councils. I want to make a brief comment about fallen heroes. I've mentioned this at past meetings. Mayor Fox tasked a committee of some of our resident veteran individuals to evaluate eligibility for recognition as a Bradley Beach fallen hero. I'm fearful that we may be running short on time, but I know the mayor's goal was to hopefully reach some resolution and working with our veterans that there might be a recognition on at our July 3rd ceremony. I will continue to follow up with this group, but as of this point in time, I don't yet have a status update. I remain hopeful that this group will complete their work in time for the July 3rd ceremony. And then my final comment, I'm trying to close all of my comments every meeting with this, but I continue to be very concerned about the lack of progress in our local 152 negotiations. I feel obligated to mention this every time. It is inexcusable that this union, representing so many of our hardworking employees, has been forced to go without a contract or a pay raise for a year and a half. The mayor's unwillingness to include a council representative at the bargaining table is, and I used this word last time, inexplicable. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Councilman Weber.
Thanks. I'm gonna start my comments with a question, and it's for the mayor, and I just wanna know, what does it mean when the acting borough administrator is excused? I don't really understand that, like, you understand it'd be helpful for us if she was here.
I excuse you for no reason.
Okay, but could she?
I can explain.
I want to comment on Julia Sandra Rand's passing. Obviously, she headed up our Arts Council since its inception, appointed by Mayor Julie Schreck, and certainly lost for the borough. I don't really understand how this is possible, but I will say that her latest performance was her best. I don't know, as she got older and older, it was really remarkable to me, and she certainly gave a lot to this town for that. The 8th grade graduation was great. A lot of love in that building. It's a ton of fun, and it's certainly not like my 8th grade graduation. I went to Opera by the Sea. What do you know? Which is not an arts council, but that was a tourism event, and that was great. People were commenting on the quality of the performers. It really was something. I'm really thankful for this police report, because I did not know that those pride flags were stolen.
It's in the coasters.
I didn't get to that yet.
Well, no, it's gonna be in the coasters.
Oh, it's gonna be in there? Okay. I am the council person that said we should have pride flag. A few years back, and I distinctly recall getting some hate mail about it, and I continue to get hate mail and hate comments about it. And, happy Pride, everybody. What are you gonna say about it? The first aid report. Oh, it was in the phone. It should still be in the phone. Come on. Don't do this to me. I
Still on the phone.
It is still on the phone, but now I have to find it. Sorry for the delay here. So for the month that ended today, the squad responded to 29 day calls, 13 night calls, 42 calls altogether. 29 were for medical, 9 were for fire. There were 3 water rescue requests from the answer team. 1 medical transport, 3 motor vehicle crashes, and the squad conducted 2 drills for the safety and education of the membership. The squad provided medical overwatch for the Bradley Beach Business Alliance fundraiser, as well as for they participated in the answer water rescue exercises just mentioned, in preparation for this summer swimming season. The squad requested no mutual aid assistance, and they fulfilled 100% of their assignments. As always, they are looking for volunteers. They provide training. The applications are on the borough website, and you must be, there are also applications for cadet program for people 16 to 18 years of age. So youngsters should sign up for that. For Fletcher Lake, they put some time every spring into doing plantings around the lake. This year they planted some perennials, so they don't have to get out there and plant new flowers every year. They want to enter into an agreement with the geese control folks, the ones that are doing geese control on Sylvan Lake. It's working so well there, and a couple other lakes, that now all the geese are at Fletcher Lake, so they're eager to do that. And I'm gonna ask another question. Do we know, the borough paid for the Sylvan Lake? It didn't come out of the Sylvan Lake's budget, right? It just came from the borough?
I think,
We split it out.
I think it's split.
Okay, so that's what they're hoping that we can do. Neptune already said that they'll split it with us, so hopefully we get that going before the geese fly south. Oh, no, they don't fly south, that's the problem. Fletcher Lake Commission has also asked about enforcement of electric vehicles on the footbridge. Now we have a sign, we have the ordinance, now we have the sign, and they're hoping that that will get well enforced. So officers, be on the lookout for that. Thank you. It is hot. It has been hot. It hasn't rained. Just as community announcement, New Jersey American Water, they asked for voluntary water restrictions. You know, it's on you. This is not, they're not saying it's mandatory, but I think it's common sense things like, don't water your lawn in the middle of the day when it's super hot, and don't water it when it's really windy like it was the other day. Just use some sense and conserve water. If you have one of those new trees from the Shade Tree Commission, keep that bag full. That is not a place to cut back on water. That new tree needs some water. Speaking of utilities, there's another meeting of the towns that were interested in energy aggregation. Remember energy aggregation? I talked about it years ago. If you recall, we were going for savings across the board for everybody on their electric bill, and also trying to buy more renewable energy by aggregating with a bunch of other towns. The markets have been such that we are just not getting that, and they don't expect that we're getting that. So the borough decided, along with these other towns, that we're gonna change our expectations a little bit. Like, we're not as concerned with the renewable energy. We're just concerned with hopefully saving people some money. And the renewable energy is, I'll say it's less of a concern, but the state mandates the portfolios of the utilities. They're already, they're ratcheting up. Like when we started this process, they were probably getting 15% of their energy from renewable sources. Now it's up to, it's like 24%. So it's already going up. That's what we wanted anyway. So we said, it's fine. Let's just go for the energy savings. No guarantees because the market's still kind of tough out there. But if they find favorable conditions at our town and 7 other towns, if we want, we can participate in some energy aggregation and save people money. That is the extent of my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
Okay. The Environmental Commission met on June 3rd. The commission is dedicated to retaining Bradley Beach's sustainable New Jersey designation and will be working on their submission for 2025. The Land Use Board met on June 20th. An application for an expansion of an existing nonconformity for 301 3rd Avenue and other modifications was heard. The application was denied 5-4. The board also agreed to the consistency of the changes to the stormwater management ordinance. 3 other applications were considered for use and bulk variances. And since I can't hear use variances, I will report on those once they are memorialized. The next meeting will be July 18th. That's my report.
Thank you. Okay, we'll open it to public comments right now. 5-minute limit, single instance. Any public comments? Yes.
Hi, Brigitte Dwyer, 16 Brindley Ave. Just wanted to thank the council for council members who voted no to voting down the introduction of the budget. Based on what was discussed about the budget, I vividly remember Mr. Guard standing up here and stating that $600,000 was not being replenished for 2023 into the surplus. I'll tell you why I vividly remember that, because I remember not trusting it. Just like we were told for 2022, 300,000 wasn't going to be replenished, and it ended up being $1 million when the audit came out. So I don't even trust the percentage increase of what our taxes are supposed to be raised. And I don't even trust that the 600,000 is to be factored into that. Because what we're told, we have a track record now since Larry Fox has been in office, that what we're told about our money is not the truth. We get updates about tourism, about land use, about the police, about the school. We don't get anything about our money. The most important thing that keeps this place functioning. And we have no clue what's going on with our money. So Paul was broke already in 2022. Like $1 million really, where I also want to mention the Edmonds reference that was brought up, and that dates are put in place, and you know, the invoices and Edmonds. I'd like to remind everybody that when I opened the COVID money for 2021 and 2022, I was told 3 times that there were no responsive records. And then I came up here and I mentioned it, and suddenly I received an email showing me 2021, I think it was July 8th of 2021, in the Edmonds report, $217,000 as a receipt, a cash receipt. Shows a debit and then a credit, okay, for 21. For 2022, I think I had about, I don't have it here. For 2022, I think I had about 8 entries maybe in July for the 217, all listed as manual entries. The 2021 was listed as a cash receipt. There's no consistency. The Edmonds report for the 2022, 217,000 totals at the bottom showing $800-something thousand because of all the manual entries that were listed. It makes no sense whatsoever. And it certainly doesn't even look like the 2021 part of the COVID money. So it's 2 very inconsistent year-to-year reports in the Edmonds system. So once again, there's no trust in anything we receive about our money. Hold on. When we have our agendas printed out, I mean, can we just put that Meredith's excused from the meeting every time? Because I think she's excused every time. And do we not have to announce that for the record every time? It's like ongoing. I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Nancy Meadow, Ocean Park condominiums. Mr. Weber, thank you so much for being We the People. You asked for clarification, the form of a question, and you didn't get an answer. Now you know what we feel like. And Mr. Gubatose, I don't look at it as insanity to continue to bring up the same things. I look at it as hope. So, which is weird for me because my glass is always half empty. But that being said, it is my hope that the more I am redundant, and the more I point out the same things as the squeaky wheel, that something will stick. So with that in mind, I am waiting since April 15th for reply to a letter from the mayor. The fact that a government business would run like this, we know why other people don't respond. And may the record show that it is impossible to call Borough Hall Monday through Fridays from 8 to 4 and speak to someone because it doesn't open until 9. It's really not funny. I mean, this is what we're dealing with here. In addition, I've been waiting for answers from the labor attorney since winter. So I'm gonna have to over again, and I guess it'll get all sent again, and we'll piss away more money, and I do mean that I did specifically choose that word. You have the power, four of you, to legislate, to make ordinances that might introduce paid employees that are sitting here tonight. That might require advice and consent of council for committee members, department members, commission members, to have those meetings on Zoom available to the public, to have their minutes available to the public. In other words, standards, where we can know what to expect instead of free for all at Bradley Beach, which then would bring me to the beach. When we know everyone says that we can do that in Bradley Beach, they don't do anything about it. So let's start with this one. Bring your child to work day is the fourth Thursday in April. It's not every weekend day. Where children that appear to me from looking under 10 years old are riding with a lifeguard in the Kabuta. What a liability for the borough. What a liability for two little children. This is what happens when you hire people who are not experienced in management. I mentioned last meeting about the separation of church and state, which is very important to me. I respected your vote. I was disappointed. But now that I'm out and not working, I'm seeing a religious organization at the gazebo every single day. And yet, they weren't there when Palone was there. Who may I say? Many people said how lovely our beaches were when he was having his little presentation. They ignored the fact that Public Works was there. 3 men pulled off of doing important work to help him. They ignored the fact that the green shirts were on their hands and knees picking up garbage from the beach. That is why we are pristine, because of our employees. But they don't have a contract, and of course that didn't come up. It's a good thing we finally put the days that we're taking beach badges on the website. But I guess the person who changed it only did what they were told to do, because it says that our discount badges are sold from December 2023 through something 2022. Again, these are standards that you accept, that we pay for, and I just don't get it. We need a different website. We need employees that do their work. Last week, when I mentioned security, you're all concerned with cybersecurity. I'm concerned with my physical security. So I walked around the borough. Don't throw or show a fob in my face. I don't even use them. I counted 30 locks that don't use fobs. Again, every single lock, every combination, every fob, all of that needs to be changed because we have had tremendous change in personnel. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
I'd just like to speak on behalf of Julia Rand and formally request that the Arts Council, first of all, that the Arts Council continues and that there will be an appointment next individual to fill those shoes for the Arts Council. I know that's a mayoral appointment, because it's a very important part of Bradley Beach. And I'd like to formally request that the Arts Council be named after Julia Rand, the Julia Sandra Rand Arts Council. So that's a recommendation that I'm asking for. And I think it would be very meaningful since she actually started the Arts Council and she's been a lifetime member.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening, Linda W. 312 Whitney Avenue. First, thank you for voting down the budget introduction. I just have some comments about ordinances. I would like to see 2 ordinances created. One would be for construction, and it would be that when they're doing demolition that involves large amounts of dust and smoke, the area, not smoke necessarily, but dirt flying through the air, that like other construction companies, they wet down the soil, so the environment and people living around it aren't affected. And the other one I'd like to say is, when I was just recently out in Texas, they do have bags, but you don't see bags everywhere, which I found we have created no problem. We don't have bags everywhere anymore. But all their eateries have takeout that's in disposable containers that are paper, and I would, or bamboo utensils. I would love to see our eateries here also provide that for people that take out, so we don't have unnecessary plastics in our landfill. And I don't understand, this is a complaint actually, why the Hula Grill now has tables against the railings. They were not there last year or ever before. They had them next to the Hula Grill themselves. Personally, for me, it's like a few extra steps to park my bicycle, but a lot of people park their bicycles along the fence. And now it's gonna be more of an eyesore of all those bicycles along the fence. And the other thing is that they can pick up their garbage in the evening sometimes, and I find a lot of things on the ground. They should be policing the area before they close. And the other thing is, it's curious, I did ask about the menu at the other truck that's on the north end about just ice cream, so it's just ice cream now. So they don't have any other foods there besides ice cream. It would have been better if we had gotten a truck that provided lunch type menus for people instead of just ice cream. It's nice to have ice cream, I agree, but then it forces the north end to bring their own or order out all the time.
They provide some other food.
No, they don't have ice cream. No, they don't.
Sorry, I met with the owner on Friday and they're now providing some.
Well, that's news more to us.
Yes.
And the other request I have is, Councilman President DeNoble, you have that plan of the lots. Could that be possibly posted on our website so we can review it ourselves? Instead of just not knowing exactly how it looks?
That's a good question.
Yeah, just like we had the plans for.
Is it accessible right now anywhere?
Now, the subdivision. What about the bid packet? That's not.
No, it's not on the website. the
Okay.
packet.
And where are all these geese gonna go? To the beach. They're gonna be hanging out on the green area, like they do a lot of times, because they're not on the beach, they're not in the lakes. So, I'm not, like, I don't wanna say, put the beach, but we need to like find another solution. So I think it's great that we're getting them out of the lakes, but then they're gonna go to the beach. And that grass area is filled with geese species, it's kind of disgusting. Right? I don't know what to say about that. It's people walk on the grass. No one, and they're barefoot. So I don't know what the solution would be, but maybe we can investigate that somewhere more. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. Mayor, it's very disingenuous of you to say there's 5 million in surplus in our utilities. People don't really understand what that is, okay?
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
I said between our current fund and our utilities.
Yeah, but you're putting them together, they're totally different things. The beach is one utility, the sewer is another utility. We need a large surplus in the sewer so that we can do more work, because we have to put deposits down when we bond, okay? And not only that, when Miss Humphrey was here, there was money taken from the beach and the sewer under the guise that, oh, we didn't pay these health benefits before, and that money was taken out as a one-time only. And again, those accounts were dwindled. In my mind, they were pilfered, okay? And it's continuing to happen, and it's gonna continue to happen, but 5 million, don't let people think we have 5 million, they're 3 separate accounts. Okay, and I'd like to know, I don't know, before you became mayor, when Mayor Engelstad was here, the CFO used to be at every meeting. Joyce Wilkins was here, Gail was here, they could answer financial questions. Not anymore. Are we getting a deal with this guy? $73,000 we're paying, or in that neighborhood? We've seen him one time. Well, I couldn't even tell you what he looks like now. I forgot, it's been so long. But also, I mean, we gotta do this right. This is system, it's not working. My next question is for Mr. Cannon. I'm sorry, I'm gonna ask you a question. You don't have to answer this. But, our acting business administrator was hired on a 90-day rollover contract. That contract's never been resubmitted. This should be done every 90 days, because Judge English said at the first hearing, well, what happens every 90 days? You have to do it again.
I believe the mayor reappoints every 90 days. But do the memo,
I don't see an appointment memo. So we had an appointment memo and everything, the first.
I understand that, and
Great, sir.
that's a transparency issue, but I have seen at least one of them. I know that appointment is kept up to date.
It is.
Oh, I've been at all the meetings, okay, and it hasn't been done in the last 6 months.
So your point is taken.
Thank you, I look forward to that. Thank you very much, Mayor. I'd like things to be done transparently. Let us know what's going on. Thanks.
Yes.
Meetings are 16 York Avenue. Going back to the issue of the ice cream truck on the Boardwalk York Avenue. We've spoken to the owner several times. They've talked about bringing some snack food in, but they haven't done it yet. Unfortunately, we have been up there for ice cream a few times too many. And there's no food. And that section of the beach is popular, and not everybody can just walk home and get some food. So I'm not sure when this food is gonna show up, but it has not shown up at all.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, Peter Sharp, 301 Second Avenue. First of all, thank you for the nice reports about the 8th graders and the student entering records. They're definitely the feel-good moments from tonight's meeting. It's nice to hear that. Okay, enough feel-good moments. See, 2 weeks ago, I was up here and I was asking if there was any information on the recent legal activities up in Freehold, and specifically the costs for legal representation that we are accumulating, and even more important than that, whether it's the expectation that these costs will be passed to the Bradley Beach taxpayers. We're kind of late in this meeting already, and I haven't heard anything. So I can hear something.
I think there's one more number she was trying to get, and I answered that question today. So you
Okay.
should have it within the next day or two.
Okay, and would this be your cost, or would this be the council cost?
It'll be comprehensive.
Comprehensive?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then, let's be patient then and wait for that number to pop up. But the reason I'm focusing on this is because that, we're awash in financial issues here. And fortunately, better financial minds than mine are trying to work through this and figure it all out. But it just occurs to me that these legal costs are really, they represent a total loss to the taxpayers at Bradley Beach. No goods, no services are being provided for this money that's being expended.
And it's just kind of sad to see that, based on the one number that Mayor Fox provided, we could say that there could be as much as $40,000 here. Extrapolating from the one data point that we know, that could be just lost. And I think that's a pretty sad state of affairs. Hopefully it'll turn out to be less than that. I'll just conclude by saying that, this kind of thing going on is not a sign of a healthy government. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
I can't, so is someone in. Mia Mullen through to Fourth Avenue. I just have a question on Fletcher Lake Bridge. On the Bradley Beach side, there was a little asphalt ramp put onto it so you could get a bike up on it. I would never ride a bike if there's people walking on the bridge, but 80% of the time, it's not somebody walking over the bridge when I'm riding my bike. On the other side of the bridge, there isn't a little asphalt that's been put in to create a ramp. I'm just wondering who could be contacted, I guess, at Neptune, DPW, like somebody did that on the Bradley side. Was it our DPW or was it just a resident that there? Can we get it on the other side?
You have to go to Neptune Township meeting and get.
Okay, I just wondered if anybody knows a counterpart over there.
That's the purpose of the Fletcher Lake Commission is it's two people from two different boroughs, so I think it's very easy to simply ask them. And they have to deal with the extra layer of the camp meeting association, but that's like an easy ask. So you just want the little asphalt ramp on that
Yes, if
side.
you look at it on the Bradley side, it was just, it probably took 2 minutes for somebody, I don't know, like filling a little pothole, but it's this big. Yeah, so it'd be nice because I'm tired.
Sure.
Thank you. Yes.
That's Cap 105 Central Avenue, Bradley. I watched the last meeting of June 12th and your performance. I found your political grandstanding a little nauseating in regard to your reading of the Juneteenth proclamation when in context to page 8 through 11 of the January 19th, coincidentally, report from the prosecutor's office with regard to the investigation into the previous chief, Wida, specifically the August 1st, 23 incident involving a suspicious person, which was a Black man who was stopped and detained in our borough. I'll quote from that report. With respect to Chief Wida's detention of redacted, we find that detention to be in violation of the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 7 of the New Jersey Constitution, which protect individuals against unreasonable searches and seizures. Accordingly, the detention correspondingly violates the aforementioned rules. That was a report that you chose, Larry Fox, to hide. You had the option and the power to actually hold the chief law enforcement officer of this borough accountable for his behavior and the findings that he violated the constitutional rights of a Black man innocently walking through our streets. But yet, 5 months later, you stood in front of this borough last meeting and you read the Juneteenth proclamation. I encourage everybody to go back and watch your performance because it made me throw up a little bit in my mouth. But let's talk about another coincidence. Coincidence is improbable concurrence or near concurrence of seemingly related events or circumstances that have no causal relation. A coincidence is a remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances that have no apparent causal connection with one another. For instance, I find it an interesting coincidence that a resident that spoke last week and this week, in addition to living here in the town, also happened to coincidentally live right across the street from the infamous DUI motor vehicle accident gentleman, Kenneth Wynn, who Leonard Guida was involved with an altercation and a situation that we're all aware of, which was a large part of the investigation into the November 9th incident with Sergeant Major and that whole thing on Main Street. But that is just a coincidence, I'm sure, that that resident just happened to be speaking in favor of you, Larry Fox, and in favor of the ex-chief and how unfairly the council has been treating you and the chief. Just a coincidence. Some other things that I've had on my mind lately are, I'm wondering what the status is of the attorney that this council approved several months ago to investigate the behavior of Mr. Bernstein towards Nicole Browning during the union negotiations. I'm wondering about the borough employees. Did they ever get paid for the overtime due from 2022? The beach employees that Kim Humphrey spoke of that were supposed to have received overtime pay? Have they just not gotten their pay? I'm just wondering. And what happened to the bill that was set aside for $17.5 thousand a few meetings ago? That was for a social media consultant that nobody knew about. And it was separated out from the bills list. I wonder whatever happened with that. And I'm also wondering about what Ms. McGuire was talking about in regard to the American Rescue Plan. We received $407,467.22. But yet we can't seem to account for where that money went and where it was allocated and what it was used for. These are things that we need the DCA to come in here and investigate. And while we're talking about coincidences, I really hope that the coincidence, well,
Thank you.
I'll say that.
Okay, looks like there's no other questions, so I'll make a motion to close this meeting and go into executive session.
Second,
Mrs. Noble?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yeah.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes.
I know, I know. Thanks. Alrighty then. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Well.
Sorry. Yeah, you didn't get her. Yes.
Maybe.
We're going to exactly, we don't go straight into that. We're going to break for